Crawford, I know the other guy's talking about he's already made plans that he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Janibek. Well, you still got the Cuban assassin right here.
The second half of the fight put an emphasis on the fact that Bud was in fact outboxing him in the first half of the fight.
But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys.
The second half of the fight put an emphasis on the fact that Bud was in fact outboxing him in the first half of the fight. It is one of the biggest wins in boxing history. And now let Uncle Max gather around, children, and I will explain this. This is the situation, guys. No one has ever been a 4-division champion in boxing. Not a real one. Oh, Pacquiao won 8 and Oscar De La Hoya won 11 and this one won 15. No, I'm talking about Ring Magazine champ or lineal champ. You are the champion of that division.
Get them all.
Forever, the record was 3 by Henry Armstrong. Manny Pacquiao was the first dude to really win 4. Floyd gets credit for 4 for beating Canelo, but that wasn't at the junior middleweight limit. I don't count that.
Right.
I don't count that.
Right.
Terence Crawford just joined Manny Pacquiao as the only legit 4-division champion in the history of boxing.
Roy Jones Jr. has completely changed the direction of Terence Crawford's final stage in boxing. While most of the boxing world is expecting a massive rematch with Canelo, Roy is guiding, but toward a completely different route. It is a path that legacy demands, but almost nobody saw coming. He is highlighting the one missing piece in Crawford's career that only one man can fill, and that man is Erislandy Lara. This is not just about winning another belt. It is about closing the only chapter that Crawford never truly finished. And Roy Jones Jr. knows exactly why Lara is the final challenge that completes the entire story.
Been a long time. Long time. He's about to make history. When he unifies those titles, Crawford, I know the other guy's talking about he's already made plans that he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Janibek. Well, you still got the Cuban assassin right here, baby. The technician. One of the best to ever do it. Canelo, you know we got. Come on, Canelo, you know. One of the best to ever do it, man.
To understand why Roy Jones Jr. is pushing this direction, you have to study Terence Crawford's career path. Crawford has won championships at 135, 140, 147, and 154. Then he skipped straight to 168 and took the title from Canelo. But there is one clear gap. He never competed at 160 middleweight. For a history-minded fighter like Roy Jones, that missing division stands out clearly. He believes moving back to win a middleweight belt is not a step down, but a smart way to finish the journey. He calls it completing the story. If Crawford captures a title at 160, then the road becomes complete. And his claim as the best fighter of this era becomes impossible to deny.
Unification Cup, Marcel, you know. You've been there since the beginning. You were there for that Canelo robbery.
Unification coming.
It's coming. December 6th, baby.
And you want Crawford?
Hey, he can get it too. He can get it too. All the respect to him. One of the best to ever do it. But why wouldn't you want the best? He's at the elite. He's at the peak. Why wouldn't you want the best? Right? That's what it's all about, going against the best. Cream of the crop. One of the best to ever do it. Don't forget about my man Alex. And Louis D. That's a product of Louis D. One of the best managers in boxing, baby. Yeah. Can you get a photo with Ron? Get in there with me. Yeah.
The middleweight division has stayed quiet and mostly ignored for a long time, while all the attention went to the bigger names at 168, but that calm is about to break. Roy Jones Jr. sees this weight as the perfect place for Crawford to make his move because it is ruled by strong champions instead of massive stars. These fighters hold the belts that Crawford wants, but they do not have the power to control the terms the way Canelo can. That gives Crawford the advantage. He would not be chasing a chance, he would be the one stepping in to take what he believes belongs to him. Jones believes this is the simplest path with the greatest reward for Crawford legacy.
I don't know. These guys both come from a big amateur background. You know, Lara is going to obviously older, so that's why you'd probably favor Janibek. But Janibek, I don't think is a spring chicken himself, right? So I mean, it's one of those things where there's going to be, I think, like Champ Chris said, it's not the most exciting fight, but there's a lot of chess here because these guys come from a very high IQ background, both in their amateur careers and it's spill over into their pro careers. And there's decent power there as well. You know, Lara is getting some sort of highlight reel knockouts. We've seen Janibek do that here and there. So, you know, that kind of thing is also not out of the question.
As Canelo Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career, people like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier, and more meaner than both of those guys. So, you know, if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint, and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I know from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body.
Here is where the timeline starts to matter. The 160 division looks uncertain right now, but everything becomes clear on December 6, 2025. That is the night of the major unification fight between WBO and IBF champion Janibek Alimkhanuly and WBA champion Erislandy Lara. This is more than just a fight, it is a proving ground. Roy Jones Jr.'s entire plan depends on the winner of this bout. On one side stands Janibek, the dangerous puncher from Kazakhstan that many fighters have avoided. On the other side is Erislandy Lara, the Cuban veteran and the oldest champion in the sport, who is still sharp and hard to solve with his high-level boxing mind. Whoever walks out of that ring with all three belts becomes the next clear target for Crawford.
You know, you favor Janibek, but if Janibek gives you one of these dud performances, you know, Lara has the craftiness to offset him, you know. So I think it's more important for Janibek to be the guy to really be on, because I think Lara, yeah, he's been inconsistent, but for the most part, you kind of know what you're going to get with Lara. You know, he can offset you, and he will offset you if you don't show up at your best. You favor Janibek because Lara is much older, but I don't know, man. I mean, if Janibek gives us one of those inconsistent performances that we've seen, you know, it's not out of the question that Lara here comes in and beats him.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. One more two.
While Janibek is seen as the young powerhouse, many believe Roy Jones Jr. may actually be leaning toward Erislandy Lara if he can pull off the upset. Lara represents the experienced veteran thinker who understands boxing on the same deep level as Crawford. A fight between Crawford and Lara would be a true battle of skill and intelligence. A full southpaw chess match that hardcore fans would be excited to watch. If Lara can handle Janibek's power and unify the titles, he instantly becomes a legacy-level opponent for Crawford, backed by over 10 years of high-level competition. It would also give Crawford the chance to defeat a man who once gave Canelo serious trouble, sending a quiet message that he can do it even better.
Erislandy Lara, before we went on camera, you and I were talking about how long he's been in the game. Made his debut in 2008. Maybe the best pure boxer of this era, and that's saying a lot.
I mean, pure boxer who has transformed himself into a pure puncher, apparently. Since he's been fighting at middleweight, he's scoring first-round knockouts against, I mean, not the most descriptive opposition, but you mentioned how 160 hasn't been the deepest division as of late. But yeah, he started knocking guys out later. And we talked to Bob Santos about that, and he was saying, he's like, yeah, he always had power, but he moved more. Now that he's set down on his punches, he's not moving quite as much because he's got older legs. Now that power is starting to show itself, which you really need at middleweight. And even though Lara, came up from 54, had some really good big wins down there. I thought he beat Canelo Alvarez at 54, by the way. But it's now moved up to middleweight. It's turned out to be a good puncher at middleweight with not only respectable power but world class power. And this is an interesting fight.
Yeah, he's an older guy, so obviously there's always those veteran tactics. But again, Alan Cannulli he's from the Soviet school of boxing, So I don't know how many. Chris, maybe you know better than me. This guy was one of those guys with tons of amateur fights.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but he's probably one of those guys with 200-300.
No, I do think we have to start rating that. We have to start understanding that. When we talk about guy only lost with 8 fights, like I see idiot fans, for example, talking about when they want to criticize somebody, or he lost to this guy who only had 8 pro fights. Yeah, the same guy with 8 pro fights also had 1,000 amateur fights too. Right. That actually matters,
Crawford is not sitting back and waiting for an opportunity to come to him, because he is already making moves. Not long ago, he showed up at the WBO convention and made his plans very clear. While seated near the team of Janibek Cannulli, he looked straight into the camera and said, "I am watching you." Whether that moment was meant as a serious warning or a light moment is hard to say. What is absolutely clear is that Crawford now has his full focus locked on the 160-pound division.
But if you ask me what I think about Janibek Cannulli fighting Erislandy Lara, Erislandy Lara, his legs aren't what they used to be, but he knows how to move, how to set traps. He's got long arms. He knows how and when to throw that left hand. I mean, you kind of got to favor Alan Cannulli, but I would not be surprised if Erislandy Lara clipped him. Now, this is where shit gets interesting. No matter what happens, either Alan Cannulli or Lara will end up with having 3 belts at 160. And Adames and Sultanov, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to have that WBC belt. But then you got Terence Crawford, who may be able to come down and in 2 fights become undisputed at 160. Because I do think Crawford will beat Erislandy Lara. I think he would beat Alan Cannulli. Adames can fight, man, and he and Crawford both can switch it. He got power. He's athletic. That's not an easy fight for Crawford. Nursultanov, I think Crawford beats him. But I think Crawford, the more you look at this, Crawford may be sitting back just watching, saying, "Shit, I may get the 4-for-1 deal." He may do something else in the interim. Let these fights play out, and then see what happens where maybe he lets those guys fight it out for undisputed, and Crawford goes down and in 1 fight picks up 4 belts. But we got to sit back and wait and see how this all plays out. But I do think for Crawford, the David Benavidez fight, yeah, whatever. But what's really interesting is Crawford, no kidding, is maybe 2 or 3 fights away from becoming undisputed at 160 if he can do the business down there. But let these guys damage themselves and bang themselves up first to just make it even easier for Crawford to get another undisputed distinction.
This viral moment proves that Roy Jones Jr. plan is already moving forward, because Crawford is now locking onto the middleweight champions. He understands that the winner of the December 6th fight holds the door to his 6th division title, and he wants that winner to feel his pressure early. The second part of Jones' advice is where debate starts, which is to stay away from Canelo. Jones believes a rematch with Alvarez is high risk, with very little reward for Crawford's legacy. In his view, Canelo has already achieved enough and is now coming off elbow surgery while also showing signs of age. Jones believes Crawford already beat him once, and winning again adds nothing new, while losing would take value away from that first win. Either result makes the rematch a no-win situation, even if the money looks big.
Best champ, I would have to go with Lara.
Lara?
Yeah.
What about the jab? Quick, powerful?
It was tough to get inside. He's the only fighter. Every fight I fought on TV, I stopped him. Every fight I ever fought on television before Lara, I stopped him. And that was the first fight that was able to stay away from me, so I say Lara. Best footwork, I would say Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford?
Terence Crawford, he's moving on me pretty good, yeah.
IQ. It's the last one.
Oh, damn, I would have gone Terence Crawford, IQ. All right, best IQ, probably Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford.